Today, really, Daisy Morgan, esteemed teacher from Portmore Primary, was laid to rest in the parish of Manchester in the town of Knockpatrick. For those who knew Miss Morgan or were taught by Miss Morgan, you know the legacy she left behind. In her wake, Daisy Morgan left behind a long line of distinguished students who became rounded, worthwhile individuals who have contributed to the society. Miss Morgan was a kind individual. She was dedicated to her students. And for those who don't know, Miss Morgan started teaching at Port Maria in 1950. She retired in 1985. As we say goodbye to her, we want her to know that, look, Miss Morgan, we appreciated everything you do, everything you did, and we'll all try to live up to your name and your lofty standards. Walk with Miss Morgan. Rest in peace. We will return in a minute, 60 seconds. Thank you. Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to another episode of Rock the Mic. Happy Saturday evening to you. I hope everyone had a great and productive day. And if you're in earshot of my voice, could you give me a check with the sound, please? Let me know how the sound is coming across. Well, listen, this Saturday evening, there's no basketball. You have no excuse for not logging on to Rock the Mic. So I'll give a few minutes. You call up your friends and tell them, get onto my homepage, Garfield Waller, or go find Rock the Mic on YouTube. I'd love to have you here with me tonight. The topic I want to discuss, as you can see there, guys, is all about single families. Is a single family as good as a normal family with mother and father, or is there something lacking? What are the pros and cons? So first, if you're within earshot, let me know how my voice is coming across and call up your friends. I'd love to have you here so we can discuss a worthwhile topic, a sensible topic, not just gossip on YouTube or Facebook. So I'd love to have you here. So ladies and gentlemen, Garfield Waller again, coming to you with Rock the Mic. This week, what are the things that happened this week? Well, former president got indicted. I don't know how many people are interested in that. All right. And Velma Jagai, welcome. Velma, what's the voice like? What's the sound like, Velma? What's the sound like, please? I know you wouldn't be able to answer if you didn't hear this. Didn't hear my voice, but I'd just like to, find out if it's coming across loud and clear. And Velma, glad to have you. And you are saying in the chat, Velma, that single families are, thank you, Velma. You're saying single families are normal. When you say normal, what do you mean? Do you believe a kid from a single family? Sorry, I don't want to offend anybody by using the word kid. Do you believe a child from the single family suffers any disadvantage, so to speak? What do you think? Anybody else who's logging on, put your thoughts in the comments and let's get this going. Does a single family child suffer from any great disadvantage? Certainly not. Certainly not. Why would you say so, Velma? Are you thinking in all areas? Is there an area where this kid again, this child might be lacking something. Or if you think the child from the single family has advantages, what would the advantage be? What would that advantage be? Thank you very much. It depends on the parent. It depends on the parent. And Velma, not to play the devil's advocate, which parent would be better, male or female? I'm gonna put that out there. You think a male parent can do just as good a job as a female parent? And I know, Vilma, in your line of work, you come across a lot of these. And David Henry is here. Good evening, Daffy. Glad to have you here. And Daffy, the question is there. Single parent families, how good are they? Do you think a child who grows up with a single parent can be just as good as a child who grows up in the what we call the normal household? Would they suffer from any advantage? Oh, okay. Our men are awesome. All? You give that a blanket statement, all or some? Some. What would you guys say? Mr. Henry, what do you say? Single parent. Velma is saying, yeah, the men are awesome. And the child suffers from no disadvantage. And she's saying it depends a lot on the parent. It depends a lot on the parent. But seriously, if we look at our school system, we can see, okay, glad to have you here too, Marcia. If you look at our school system, you'll see a lot of our children are coming from single parent homes. And in a lot of our instances, a lot of them, I'm not saying all, a great number of them seem to lag behind. While at the same time, many of them have come out and they have done good. They have excelled. They have excelled. David, what's the disadvantage? What is the disadvantage, sir? Let's hear you for Velma and the others come down on you. So, Marcia, what do you think? Is the child from a single parent family at a disadvantage? And if so, what disadvantage? If you think they have an advantage, let's know. Let us know. Be happy to let us discuss that. So, once again, guys, you're listening to Rock the Mic. Our topic this evening is single parent families. How good are they? What are the pros? What are the cons? Does does a child suffer from any disadvantage or advantage? Maybe there's an advantage that we are not looking at. Maybe there's an advantage that we're not looking at. And being a teacher, I can speak from that perspective. And speak from that perspective whereby I see some of the children from single family homes. They are several of them suffer from some, I'd say, disadvantage, but it can be overcome. Can be overcome. First of all, guys, for those who say, what? Okay, whether you say the child can run a normal life or whatever, what's the biggest knock against a child from a single parent home? What do you say is the biggest knock? What's the hardest mountain for them to climb? The highest hurdle? Anything, Vilma? Child from a single parent home. What are some of the things they have to surmount? Can either be an advantage or disadvantage. Can you elaborate on that, Marcia? Fathers have distinct roles. When he's out of the picture, mom will not do two people do. David, you better retract that because there are some mothers who have also been fathers. Some mothers who actually father that kid, father that child. So, David, you want to make any amendment to that statement? So, David, do you think a father would be a better parent? The father by himself would be a better parent than a single mother would? Because I'm sure likewise you would be saying, you could say that mothers have a distinct role. And when she's out of the picture, come on, David, elaborate. Elaborate. I know you're a man of many words. Elaborate. And I'd love for Vilma to really, go into what she means, because I know she has a lot of ideas. And Vilma doesn't log on unless she is gonna really speak. So, okay, Both are designed to, okay, both are designed to play a part. But when one is missing, don't you think the other can compensate or maybe overcompensate? Having one parent assume the responsibility. Are you going to finish that, master? Having one parent, both parents? Yeah, like I'm saying, if one is missing, don't you think the other one makes up for it? Do you think the other parent actually compensates? Dad is missing, who is going to teach the child to play ball? I've seen mothers do it. I've seen mothers do it. Likewise, I've seen fathers who plait hair as good as any woman, iron the clothes as good as any woman. But do we know what? My thing is, do we know what goes on in the child's mind? What goes on in that child's mind? That is not at home. What is that child thinking? How does that child process things? The one will have to work harder. Okay, and in today's society, how, how how effective is that, Marcia? How effective is that when one parent has to carry the load of two? Won't the child miss out on something? The child miss out on something? But I've always wanted to ask, ladies, is the father being in the home that important? Seriously, ladies, because I've seen some women raise responsible kids, disciplined kids, without a father in the home. Okay, that's a question to be answered. Okay. Yes, is a father really, really necessary? I've seen some mothers do fantastic job. Who are there participating in must be better. David, the guy could be there and not doing a darn thing. I'm sure you, in your line of work as a pastor, I'm sure you have seen that, where the male is there in the house, but he might as well be absent. And that lady has to compensate. Others are necessary. Just for just for the fact of saying there's a male in the house, somebody wears the pants. Because like I'm telling you as a teacher, I've seen children coming out of homes with both mom and dad, and might as well the dad wasn't there. Might as well he was not there because he does nothing, he contributes nothing. So David, I may have to go against you there. I may have to go against you there to some point. That the father necessary. But guys, looking at it, what do you think in today's society? What do you think the main role of the father is? What do you think the main role of the father is? Both child and parent will miss out on the overall welfare of the child. Okay. Okay, both child and parent will miss out. Okay, let's look at it this way. The mother is in the home by herself. She's got to bring in, be the breadwinner, disciplinarian, and so forth. Do you think sometimes mothers may either take it too far or not far enough? Because I've seen where these mothers, because there's not a man in the house, they have to clamp down on that child so much so that, oh my God, like a train wreck. And I've seen mothers really overcompensate for the absence of the father by giving the child basically everything the child wants in order to make up for the fact that the dad isn't in the home. But I'd like to hear from you guys. I'd like to hear from you guys. When it comes to discipline, which parent do you think plays a bigger role? When it comes to discipline, which parent do you think will keep that child on the straight and narrow? What do you say, guys? Your ideas are needed. Go through the, some men are, some men, yes, actually, some men are just deadbeat. They're just sperm donors. And in that case, the poor woman is left with everything. Original definition: father, a nourisher, protector, and upholder. All right, David, you're going to get technical. All right. All right, let's say daddy then, okay? There you go. Sometimes it's better to have a peaceful environment than living in chaos. That is true. That is true. Sometimes the father, both parents are there and they don't get along, may make it worse for the child. They make it worse for the child. It would be better if the one causing the problem would leave. Okay, so discipline. Okay, all right, Mr. Henry, going into Greek. Oh, all right, David. Okay. I'm saying having a man in the house, having a male in the house. You think it's absolutely necessary. By the way, my question earlier, discipline. Which household would produce the child that's better disciplined? Single mother or the single father? Let me hear your ideas. Actual situation, remember, actual day-to-day situation. I'm not looking to go into that linguistic thing, just the actual day-to-day situation that we know takes place every day in homes right across the country. What we know take place right across the country every day. Every day, just one home. You walk down the street, you pick any home. Single mother here, single father there. Which one would produce the more disciplined child? Single mother, single father. As I'm telling you, I've seen some single fathers who do a marvelous job, especially if it's the child is a girl, combing the hair, doing everything. Oh my God. I've seen some girls coming from some single father homes looking fantastic every morning. And then you see another child coming from a home with both a mom and dad, and they look like, yeah. All right. Yes, Belma. We'll get David back on track. We'll get David back on track. David, we're not going Greek here, okay? Let's keep it everyday, everyday stuff. Master, sometimes the mother is the disciplinarian. Again, in some cases, but for those of us who came from a home with mother and dad, I'm sure you used to hear, just wait till the father come home. Just wait till I tell you that. And growing up, you knew that in most cases, the dad is the enforcer. The mother was always a nurturer. The dad was a enforcer. But it's something we have to look into, guys. And I read last week. Here's something when it comes to discipline. I read last week that here in the U.S., most of the prisoners, most of, most of the prisoners came from a single family home where the woman was the one in the home. There are less prisoners. There are less prisoners coming from a single family home where there's a male. Children obey your parents, honor mom and dad, was the original design. All right, was the original design, but we know that because of what would we say? Because of socioeconomics, that's not the case anymore. Oh, I say you're more fearful of your mom's looks. Yes, sometimes that look was all it took. Sometimes that look was more deadly than the actual spanking itself. Sometimes that look was all it took. I was more fearful of my mom's. I don't want to use the word nagging. I couldn't stand the nagging. Hey, just beat me and get it over. I couldn't stand the nagging in your ears. Felt like you really did something bad. Yes, but guys, single parent families, hey, it's almost a norm now because David, as much as you may not like it, this institution of marriage is basically on the way out. We're going to find more and more single parent homes popping up. Marriages, people are not into it. People are into shacking up or going it on their own. And David, as a pastor, what do you think is the reason for this? Velma, what do you think is the reason for this? People turning their backs on traditional marriage and maybe going it as a single parent. It's not the day when the woman had to stay at home and the man brought in the bread. Today, the woman has an equal opportunity out there to make money. She may make more than the guys. So I don't think most women today are fearful of, not being able to support their children. And I think today, I don't know how you look at it, women are less fearful of being left on their own. It's not like the old days when a guy could be abusive and the woman would have to stay because she had nothing else to turn to. I agree. Things aren't always the ideal, and I respect that there are single moms who do good. Yeah, yeah, David, I think socioeconomics now dictate that, hey, both better go out and work, and the woman is no longer the one to, stay home. She's out there making money also, just like the guy. She may even make more than the guy. But I don't think ladies are as fearful as they once were. Men are choosing to have children after they're established. Men seem to want less responsibility too. That could be so. That could be so. Mhm. And a lot of women are now declaring their independence. Independent. They don't need a man around. Happens. It happens. But I don't know. Does the child pay some price later on for that? The child pay some price later on for that. What about it? What about if anybody online here grew up in a single parent family? You were just raised by your mom or your dad. How did that affect you? And when you became an adult, what did you do to what is it compensate, make up for what you lacked? I'd love to hear from somebody who grew up in a single parent family. Looking at society with much problems and look at the breakdown of home, which is the foundation of the society. Continue, David. But they're saying in jail today in the United States, they have done surveys and most of the perpetrators are from single family, single parent homes where a woman was in charge. I don't know if that's because there are more single parent families where women are out there, so you find a lot more guys coming in. I don't know. I don't know how scientific that survey was, but the law and enforcement say they could almost tell which of the perpetrators were from who raised in a single parent home where there was a mother in charge. When we go to these single parent homes, are we our boys? I don't know, but our boys learning to really respect women? I don't know if I'm phrasing that the right way, but do you think our boys are growing up with the respect they should for women? David says, I'm currently working at a children's home. I see many kids from single homes. I see it every day. What are they like mentally, David? Are they on a level keel or do you notice anything peculiar, anything out of the way about them? Yeah, give us an insight into that. You see them every day in these homes. What are they like? And can you tell the difference whether John was raised by a mom or Tom raised by a dad? Troubled kids most don't know the father. Okay? So a lot of those are raised by single mothers. Do you think, David, do you think if the father was in the life, do you think they would have those same problems? Do you think the problems would persist? The big differences, such as, let's hear some of them, David. We're here to learn. We are here to learn. Let's hear some of them. Marcia, you see a lot in the classroom too. What do you notice? What do you notice? Which children are at a disadvantage? The ones raised by the single mother or the ones raised by the single father? Hi, Grace. Gracie, happy to have you here. Gracie, we're discussing single parent families. Whether the child from the raised by the mother is better off than the child raised by father or the child raised by both parents. Hi, Mr. Byfield. Glad to have you here. And he said, I believe this phenomenon of single parent household results from the breakdown in values. Women lead the averages in asking for divorces these days. Social care, miseducating them about not needing a man, equating to being independent and equal. And that's your idea, Mr. Byfield, and you're sticking by it, right? Okay. So the breakdown in values, a breakdown in values, and the women wanting divorce. And like I said, a lot of women now are putting up with less crap than they used to put up 10, 20 years ago. Sometimes you can't tell which is different. Depends on the parent. Mhm. Okay? It depends on the parent. What about socioeconomics, guys? Nobody has touched on that. Socioeconomics. How big a part does socioeconomics play in all of this? How big a part does socioeconomics play? Mhm. Yeah, and that's true, David. I find that with the children I deal with at school, a lot of them, you ask them about dad, he's in prison. Do you write to him? Do you call him? No. And that child is growing up without the attention, the love of the father. But I always wonder, I'd love to be able to track some of these children until they become adults and find out what sort of parents do they become. For example, let's say Bobby. Little Bobby grew up without a father. When Bobby has his own children, what does he do? Does he pour love and attention onto them, making up for what he didn't have? Well, Mr. Henry seems to be on what was designed to be a family, which is true. I think I miss what we're discussing here. So we're discussing the fact that we have moved away from not by choice and how it affects the children. Yeah, that's what I want to look at, Vilma. What is happening today, not what should be. Yeah, we know what it should be. We all know what it should be, but we got to face facts. What is happening now? What is happening now? That child without a father, it's not his fault. Not his fault. How has it? How will it affect him? How is it affecting him? That child without the mother, how is it affecting him or her? That's what we want to discuss. Yeah, we know God said male and female should, but not everybody's like that. Not everybody's choosing to go that route, and they have their own reasons, whether personal, religious, or whatever. We don't care about that. We want to know what's happening now. There isn't much different in the elementary kid. They, they begin acting out in middle school. They begin acting out in middle school. Okay, I see it in high school too, where there's one parent, and most times it's a mother. And most times the poor mother is out there working so darn hard that it's hard for it's hard for her to keep track of what's going on in the classroom. Sometimes she has no idea what's going on with the child, and it's gonna be a long time. Same thing with the father, but the father will more likely come in like a hurricane and blow stuff up for a while and then go missing again. The mother seems to be more tactful and she'll check in once every couple of months. But like they say, it depends on the parent. And it depends on the socioeconomic group too, which nobody seems to, address socioeconomics. How hard does that mother or father have to work? It depends on the parents. Go ahead, Gracie, elaborate, please, Gracie. You ain't just gonna come in and make one little statement and get away. But I'd love to hear from somebody who grew up in a single family home. If you want to tell us, how was it? How did it affect your thinking? Did you think you were less off than another child? Did you think you were less off? Or did it spur you on to work harder? I'd love to hear from somebody who's not afraid to. School is when most children start self discovery. Friendships are very important to them. And they start questioning a lot of things. Yep, that is true. They want to know, why isn't daddy here? Why isn't mommy there? And the parent has a lot to answer. The parent, or most parents, just shut up. There's nothing they're going to answer. Ladies and gentlemen, if you're listening, this is Rock the Mic, and we're discussing single parent families and how good or how bad they are. What are the pros? What are the cons? Which would you rather have your child in? But think of it like people said earlier, it's better to grow up in a safe single parent household than to have both mom and dad there and they're fighting every day. That's not something you want the child seeing. That's not something you want the child to experience. So it would be better to cut your losses and you raise a child on your own and be there with an abusive partner and be there with a partner who's gonna beat you butt every day. And like we said, most ladies are deciding now, hey, we're putting up with less, we can earn our own money. Because think of it, guys. 60s, 50s, it was a man who went out and worked. It was a man who did all that work. Ladies stayed home. Now, none of that. We have so many what we'd call latchkey kids. Oh my gosh. I teach in high school and every child has the house key. They go home there by themselves. Till maybe 8, 9 o'clock at night when the parent comes in. So these children, when they grow up, when they become adults in another 5, 6 years, I don't think it's going to be hard for them to embark on a single parent family journey because that's how they were raised. That is how they were raised. But for those just coming like Gracie, Mr. Byfield, what do you think about the institution of marriage? Do you see it going down? To me, it seems to be on the way out. What do you think, Mr. Byfield and Gracie? What do you think about this institution of marriage? Do you think it's something that will always be with us? Do you think? Because a lot of people today are not jumping the broom anymore, deciding to live by themselves. But I've always been curious. Ever since I was a child, I've always been curious about that child who's coming from a single parent household. How did it feel to them? What were they thinking? What did they believe was happening? Did they see themselves as being at a disadvantage? I remember being in high school. Honestly, God, I remember being in high school when I used to play football and my dad was always there. I know there were people who were like, oh my God, your dad comes to watch every game? And there were some of them whose dad had never been to a game before. To me, is that what he's supposed to do? But not everybody had that. Not everybody had that. And I was just to wonder, how did it feel? How did it feel? But if anybody can enlighten my darkness, please go ahead. I'm willing to learn. I'm willing to listen. Anybody has Gracie, Byfield? Anybody has feel like putting something in the chat? Guys, if you're just tuning in, rock the mic and we're discussing single parent families. Is it good? Is it bad? What are the pros? What are the cons? And check it out, guys. When we read the biography of a lot of people who we call great wealthy people, and a lot of them are coming from single family homes. A lot of them are coming from single family homes where you'd think they would end up as failures. But a lot of these wealthy people, people who we're looking up to every day, people who we admire, they are coming from a household where there was most times just his mom. Sometimes we listen to all these big athletes. There's just a mother in the home. What spurred them on to achieve greatness? Was it that mom, or was it something internal? Was it an internal force driving them? Necessity is a mother of invention, and when a parent has to do it alone, it will be harder. Somebody succeed and have, but two parents good. If the two parents are good, I like how you put that in parentheses, brackets. If the two parents are good, if they are good, maybe a better balance, maybe a better balance. But uh, yes, no, we can argue that. We can argue that, and we can say that, hey, if dad was here, this would happen. But every day is an everyday life, man. And David, as somebody in the church, what do you see? Where do you see the institution of marriage going? Where do you see it going? Where do you see it going? And do you think it will be, it will always be around? Because it's getting competition, man. It's getting competition from people who decide that, no, we can't bother with that anymore. You go put on this big elaborate hold down and only to have a divorce in a few years. Oh gosh, that must be horrible. That must be horrible. So, guys, discussing single family, single parent families. I don't think it's, I know a lot of people are watching and listening who have a lot of ideas, but I don't know why they are afraid. It should always be around, David. There's some people who are traditional, some people who think that's how it should be. But how do you counsel, David? I'm going to put you under the microscope. How do you counsel a youngster in your church who decides, nah, the marriage way is not for me? And he or she goes and have a kid, a child out of wedlock. Would you, as a pastor, say to them, hey, young man, you got to marry that girl? Or young lady, you got to marry the child's father? Be honest. I know you're going to be honest anyway, but what would you tell that child? What would you tell that person? Would you encourage or coerce them to, hey, put a ring on it? The village mentally has helped our people years ago and can still help to guide and nourish our children today. You think so? The village has changed. The village has changed. Most villagers today are minding their own business. You poke your nose into somebody else's business, you may get slapped for that. It's not in our time when you could see another child on the road doing something and you could discipline them. Today, that village is, I don't think it's there anymore. I don't think it's there anymore. We're not our brother's keepers anymore. Not our brother's keepers anymore. Shouldn't be forced. Thank you, sir. I agree. I agree with you. Should not be forced. Not like the old days when people were forced to just put a ring on it because of that child. Because of that child. But I'd love to know how do these children turn out when they have their own children. That's my main thing. I want to know what compensation do they do? Because I heard a sports star saying the other day, a couple evenings ago, that he didn't grow up with a father. So he's going to give that child everything he didn't have. Is that good or is it bad? Is he enabling or what? Should that child get everything he or she wants that the parent didn't get? What do you guys think about that? My parents weren't able to give me this or that, so I'm going to make sure that my child has it. You think that helps or that detracts? You think it helps a child or it detracts from the child's bringing behavior, values? What do you guys think? I'd like to put everything into this discussion. What do you think? Let's hear you guys. Compensation or overcompensating, enabling, and as the Americans call it, being a helicopter parent. Do you know any parents like that? Do you know any parents like that? Helicopter parents, always just hovering over the child, not allowing the child to develop. A child grew up with no parents, absolutely no one. Blood parents, yes, but absolutely no one. No, that child's gonna need some guidance, yes. Guidance may come from somebody good or not good. But I'd like to know how what I'm saying is how does that okay, in your ministry, I'm sure you've met congregants who grew up without mother or father. How have they turned out as parents themselves, David? How have they turned out as parents? Sure, you must have had a guy who grew up without a father. Need someone, then who? Don't know. Not getting what you okay. Today, our sense of commitment is absolute church and community. People are no longer committed to work for the upliftment of the church or community. I think, Marcia, back in our time, the church and school and community were the only games in town. A child today has so many other distractions that we didn't have. Just think, we wanted fun, you go down to church, you go down to you join youth fellowship. There are too many things attracting the kids today. Too many things. Must have some adult to raise them. All right? In the right, raise them in the right way or the wrong way. But what I'm asking you, David, is in your capacity as a minister, one of your congregants must have been raised by, say, just a mom or father. How has that person turned out now as a parent? How has that person turned out now as a parent? And yes, Marcia, I'm saying there are other games in town now. Other games in town to attract that child. Take up his time. Remember, growing up, church and school, your teacher were the only sources of education. Not so anymore today. Not when you have Google, Siri, and all that. A child only a child hardly needs the adult anymore. What do you guys think about that? A child hardly needs the adult. He's getting his information from other sources. We have that big old encyclopedia. No, they have Google. They have Wikipedia. Be it right or wrong. Game has changed. Okay, so some are conscious of what was lacking and try to create them. Okay. That's what I always figure. They're gonna know what they didn't get and they're gonna try to create it. Or maybe create more than they should. Create more than they should. And I'm sure, David, I'm sure, even Marcia, I'm sure you have seen parents who have overcompensated and in so doing have become enablers to a child's, let's say, bad behavior or bad values. That is what is messing them up now, sir. What? Because they have other means of information. I agree, but it is what it is. It is what it is. In our day, yeah, you listen to your teacher or listen to an adult. Today, the child doesn't have to. Doesn't have to. Everything is right there in their palm on that cell phone. So the adult isn't really that important anymore. Be it a mother or a father, they're not that when it comes to what is imprinted on that child's brain. It ain't that. Too many games out there. Just think, when we were children, if your parents say, hey, go to your room, that is punishment. That was punishment. Today, you say to a child, go to your room. Are you punishing the child? Are you punishing the kid? No! That kid's got everything in his room. PlayStation, Xbox, Wii, you name it. You send a child in his room. No, oh my God. You send him to heaven. That's not a punishment anymore. Nope. So it's a different ball game. Whether we like it or not, it's a different ball game. And when I see a child coming from a single parent home and they're trying, I lift my hat to them. Lift my hat to the child, I lift my hat to that parent. That's true, but it's because they think they're doing something that, okay, true, it is what it is. Nothing can do better than you or us as parents. Trainers don't care like we do. That's true. But I'm saying in the classroom, when I meet some children who are coming from single parent home, some just a mother, some just a father, and the way I see them work, the work ethic they have, them manners, the courtesy, stick to itiveness they have, I gotta lift my hat to some of them. I have to lift my hat to some of them. Some really try. Some really try. Some are determined that what happened to their parent will never happen to them. They're not gonna let it happen to them. And they're really gonna make that effort. Are gonna make that effort to climb out of that hole, to get out of that ditch. But it can be interesting interacting with these children to see. And I try to watch. I watch him closely. See, this one has only a dad. How does he react to when a male teacher like myself speaks to him or her? Well, in most instances, speaking to a child and seeing the response sometimes tips me off whether that child is in a home with a father or not, or that one is in a home with a mother. And I can see the way some of them interact with some of the female teachers. And later on, when I check registrar room or whatever, yeah, I can tell there's no man in the house or there's no mother in that home. Because, like it or not, it's going to affect us differently. It's going to affect us differently. And I see it every day. And I can almost predict, not that I'm always right, but most times I am, which one is coming from that home with a single mother. Most likely those parents have conversations with their children. Yeah, there are some parents who really talk to the child. Say, listen, I want things better for you. I don't want you to live or grow up the way I grew up. Thank you for bringing that up, Marcia. What do you think about the parent who badmouths the other parent to the child? For example, man is in charge of the household. The man he's a single parent, but he's gonna badmouth the mother to the kids, telling the kids how bad the mother was, or vice versa. What do you guys think about that? Should the parent's behavior be discussed with the child? Should the parent's behavior be discussed? For example, let's say the father walked out. Should the mother discuss with the child why the father left? What do you guys think about that? For all who are logged on, David, Marcia, Byfield, Gracie, Velma, what do you think? Should that be a conversation parent has with the child? That it was workless and left with another woman. Should the parent say that to the kid? What do you guys think? I'd love to hear this one. Let me hear the answers to this one. You're listening to Rock the Mic. We're discussing single parent families. What are the pros? What are the cons? Yeah, social media wasn't around then. What social media we had, David? Children's one. Children's one. Yeah, we didn't have no social media then. So hey, that your parents, church, school were the only game in town. And Marcia is saying, not at all. A parent should keep the negative feelings to themselves. What do you say when the child asks? What would you say when the child asks? what would you what should a parent's response be when that child asks, Mommy, why isn't Daddy here with us? And the parent should say, I'm waiting. No, it should not be discussed with the child. Hey, he's still a parent. Okay, he's still a parent. But Gracie, that isn't that every day as that child gets older, that child is gonna want to know. The child is gonna want to know, why isn't mommy here? Why isn't daddy there? Or why is daddy over there with some other kids? When do you discuss this? Maybe by the time you discuss it, that child has built up so much resentment for that absent parent that the relationship cannot be mended. When should that be discussed? Yeah, but David, man, children's own. That was the social media. Parents should tell the child the truth. Tell the child the truth. Edwina, glad to have you here. Glad to have you here. Parents should tell the child the truth. Oh, wow, Edwina, do you think that would be a good thing? Oh, no. Go ahead, Edwina. We're still listening to you. Go ahead. Never heard my parents say a hard word to each other. They're very careful about those negatives. Bit off co-parenting. They're bit off co-parenting. We different views. Now that makes it harder for us to be together. So that's what you tell the child. And do you think, okay, do you think the child would want to know, right? Who's right, who's wrong? Okay, so Edwina would just put everything on the board right in front of that child, and you let the child make the decision, right? Edwina, what happens if the child chooses the other parent over you? What do? You have told the child the truth. Child don't believe you. Okay, Gracie, Master said, Gracie come like some bad dick in the class who don't want to get an answer, but just say, you know what? I agree with what he said. No, you're Gracie. Yes, Edwina. Suppose the child doesn't go with your version of it. Suppose the child doesn't go with your version of it. Same time, everyone is different in their own ways. Okay? And as a single parent, I know some of you in the chat are single parent. You, honest, you try to outdo the other parent? Let's say the other parent out there is supportive, yes. Pays the child support, gives the child this, gives the child that. You try to outdo the other parent? Is that something that should be done? Edwina said, well, that's a child's decision. All right. That's what we would like to believe. But as humans, oh my God, some of us I know are gonna put our little 2 cents in. Dorothy Henry, Miss Henry, you are late. Glad to have you anyway. You can see the topic, single parent families. How good are they? What are the pros? What are the cons? You think the kids suffer in a single parent family? What do you think? Maybe one day the child will come to an understanding. We hope maybe one day, but maybe that day will be too darn late. It's a, I agree with it. It's a tricky situation. It's a tricky situation. I had a student the other day she's now 16. The father got arrested when he was 6 and spoke to the dad the first time 2 weeks ago. 2 weeks ago. Yes, Edwina, it's very tricky. Dorothy, what do you think? What do you think? But like I said, I have nothing but respect for some of these children coming from a single parent home. You can see some of them making the effort. Yes, some children, when being fed all the negativity, that grow up to despise the other parent or love them. Yes, it can. Yeah, it's a double-edged sword. It can work either way. That child can gravitate towards you, the one who is telling them stories, or end up hating you. Right, that's what I was saying to Edwina. The child can end up hating you for the separation as well. It's a tightrope. As a parent, single parent, you have to know how to navigate that. But David and Mr. Byfield, can you plot here? You guys, can you plot your daughters here? As humans, we search for connections and we'll go in search of the truth. Yeah, that's something about human nature, going in search of the truth. Just like an adopted child wants to know who the biological parents are, regardless of the treatment they're getting in that adoptive home. Treatment could be first class. Yep, they still want to know who the biological parent. Biblical perspective, it is a bit odd, but some of the modern day men, yes, they're just firm down. They're just firm donors. Yes, that's true, Dorothy. That's true. It's a pity. It is a pity. It's a pity. You know what I always try to think of? A man who has fathered a child, and he has turned his back on that child. Child is raised by the mother. 10, 25 years later, that child now turns out to be a success. Child turns out to be a success. How does that dad look at it? How does that dad look at it? Somebody I admire, guys, is I don't know if you ever listened to Shaquille O'Neal's story about him and his biological father, and then him and his adoptive father. I know that it I don't know. Know that the guy's a success. He's just tying up loose ends with his dad. I don't know anybody has ever seen this. Child being neglected by either dad or mom, becoming a success. How does that parent who walked out, how do they deal with that? How does a child end up dealing with that parent who walked out on him or her? Any experience with that, guys? Have you ever seen that? Do you know anybody like that? You know anybody like that? I've heard several sports stars talk about that. Father was not in their lives until they signed that NBA or NFL contract, and the father comes around. How does that work? Because if I were that child, human nature is gonna tell me how to behave. I know what I would do, but you know anybody like that? Have you ever come across anything like that? Neglected the child only to come to graduation and shout, "Yeah, that's my daughter, that's my son." I've seen it happen. Seen it happen at high school graduations. I've seen that. That was nowhere in sight until the child excels at graduation. Then he's there taking pictures and posing with the child. But I want to know if you have ever seen this. Have you ever come across this? Where only when the child makes it with that other parent, that parent who neglected them all along, only then will they come forward. Come on, guys, I'd love to have your input. I know some of you typing on that phone keyboard and it's very hard. Okay, you've only heard about it, Edwin. I've never seen it. Yeah, I've seen that. I've seen cases in graduation sometimes when that's when the father well it's football. That's when the father turns up. Child now graduates and big thing going up to college. That's when the father comes up. But try and listen to the Shaquille O'Neal story. How he tells you that his biological wasn't there. And he was raised by the only man he knew, his father. It wasn't until now he's almost a billionaire that the father is in the picture. Yes, bandwagonist. No, as a child like that, how would you treat that father, David? How would you treat the father? You're the child. You now made it. And the dad who had neglected you now shows up. Honest, David. How do you treat that father? Edwina, what would you do? Dorothy, what do you do? Marcia, how would you treat that father? Father has neglected you, or mother has neglected you. They left you very early. Would you embrace him as your father, David? I'm putting you on the spot, Pastor. I've seen it with others when my kids were in high school. Yep. Tell us about it, Gracie. Father neglect or mother neglected. Father neglected or mother neglected. I know you two boys are good footballers, right, Gracie? So were you always at their games, Gracie? Edwina, you would never be in my life ever. Edwina, you and I seem to be cut from the same cloth. Father or someone who, all right, David, we're not going to get hung up on this word. You know what I mean, so just stop it. What is the take bush? Oh my God. You said Edwina, you and I cut from the same cloth. Come on. Okay, and Marcia, knowing how I am, I will forgive. No, I forgive me that piece of two before. Yep, Edwina, I'm with you. I am with you. And I think most people would be like us, Edwina, human nature. That's how we feel. But to forgive is the, oh my gosh, this gift of forgiveness. I don't know. I don't know. I don't know. But you see that a lot in from high school going up. You see that a lot where suddenly somebody comes around and, oh my God, that's a father. Was never there from elementary, never there from nursery, never there one day. But that kid now gets a scholarship for college, and all of a sudden, yeah, that's in the picture. That is in the picture. Trying to push aside the mother who was there every day. And David said that man would essentially be a stranger. He truly repents. Yeah, how you going to know when this man repents? Edwina, you and I in the same boat, Edwina. I wouldn't even look at him. I would not even look at him. But you see that a lot with those sports stars. A lot. Those guys in the NFL and NBA. Sometimes I'm listening to some of their stories. Like there was one the other day saying that all from elementary. That never came to one game. That never came to one game. And it was a mother who taught him how to tackle, how to block, how to do everything. And guess who turns up the night of the draft? Guess who turns up the night of the draft at the house to get in? That who he has not seen for years. Fruits of repentance must be shown. Hmm. Hey, David, if you say so, Pastor, fruits of repentance. All right, can't steal away from fruits. Ain't getting none from me, but no, David, honestly, he would have to feel some of what I felt. I know it sounds harsh, but not telling you the truth. He would have to go feel some of what I felt. Yep, I can't remember who was it. It was the night of the draft that turned up at the house, demanded to be let in because he's a father. So guys, and while that seems hard, you must free yourself from anger and abandonment and set your spirit free. Yes, Mars. Hey, for those who don't know, Mars and I, we argue about that almost every day. Almost every day we argue about that. She is an angel with her spirit of forgiveness. No, I'm not made up that way. Edwina, I'm with you. He's gonna feel what I felt. He's gonna feel what I felt. But guys, as we come to the end here, our society is made up of many different types of family. We have the extended family, the nucleated family. We have single parent families with just a mom or just a dad, and whichever it is, we are trying to get the children to get to a certain level. We'd like each child to grow up with respect. We'd like each child to know their boundaries. We'd like each child to be able to be satisfied with what has been provided for them and to work hard to make your life much better than your parents made it for you. And in so doing, I think we need to support everybody. We need to support whether it's from a single family with a mother in charge or with the father. And like some of you said, it's better to have a single parent family than to have both parents in there creating chaos in that child's life. So I'd like to say, whichever you are, whichever type of family you have, I know you have done your best, and I know you have instilled in your child that need to go out and do better. They have a partner, love and care for that partner, show respect. Let the children see the way they should live. So for everybody who took part tonight, thank you all. Yes, Marcia, we all deserve to be forgiven for something that we have done. Okay, and please forgive me for breaking your Paris dish. All right. Guess you didn't know about that, but thank you all for logging on and have a very safe weekend. Stay safe. Please join me next week again. I'll try to have a very important guest on. Ladies and gentlemen, all who came on, be good. Peace out.